Is that a trick question?
You tell me.
They gave up Kwame Brown. Who
First
cares?
rounders.
I could care less.
Tied into his salary for 4 years.
First of all, understand something. When you're giving up first-round picks, if you are a quality team in playoff contention, it really doesn't mean that much. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play the game of basketball. He has small hands. He can't catch the ball. He's got bad feet. He can't really move, even though he's mobile. Doesn't really know what he's doing. Doesn't have a post move that he puts to memory that he can do 2 times in a row. He has no game whatsoever. Plays no defense. Doesn't have the heart, the passion, or anything that comes with it. And you're asking me whether they gave up too much? Please, the Los Angeles Lakers knew exactly what they were doing. They should be celebrating right now, and Kobe Bryant should not be saying a word.
Ciao, everybody. This is the Ball Don't Lie podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. You don't see our beautiful faces, and the audio sounds hella better because we are finally back in the studio. Thank God for our last podcast before the Thanksgiving break. So that's pretty exciting, Matt. And the show's going to be a little different today because there's a lot going on. It's not going to be our regular format. We're going to go talk about the draft and free agency.
Yeah, it's an exciting time in the NBA, Hunter. I always love this time in any season in sports. The offseason, when free agency or trades are first starting to go. I got Woj tweet notifications on. I got Shams tweet notifications on. I got my phone off of Do Not Disturb. I'm ready.
Yeah, me and Matt are going to be looking at our phones quite a bit. Not because, we're lazy and we don't care, but you got to be. I mean, Woj and Shams, all these guys are just tweeting out things left and right. We've dropped a couple Woj bombs over the course of the duration of Ball Don't Lie, but could be a couple coming our way. We're recording this at 1:41 p.m. on Friday, so maybe a couple things will break beforehand, but we're going to try to keep you all updated on what's going on around the association. So let's start off with the NBA draft, though. A lot happened, a lot of trades beforehand. Also, the draft itself was virtual this year. I thought they did a pretty good job with all the backstories and stuff that they did. I guess we'll start off there before we get into the meat of everything, Matt. How do you think the presentation of the draft was?
I mean, there's only so good. It can only be so good. We saw the same thing with the NFL draft as well. There was some hiccups there with Zoom not cooperating, and they had to wait a couple times to interview people because their audio wasn't working or something. But they still did the best they could do in the situations that we're in right now. They did a pretty good job. ESPN, as you know, I don't know if you watch a draft on ESPN, but I did. They're always looking for a good sob story. So they did a pretty good job with that as well. It's like they're always looking for the most depressing thing that's ever happened to one of these prospects.
I remember watching a podcast last year. They were talking about Maria Taylor because she was she did what Malika Andrews did yesterday for I guess sideline reporting right after they walk off the stage. But she's just like, oh, let's bring up the saddest moment of your life during the happiest day of your life. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job. Some of them were pretty interesting. They had Patrick Williams, the flower thing. That was kind of cool. And stuff like that. I think they got creative. I think Zeke Naji plays piano. I think they got a little creative with some of them. They did the best they could. That draft day photo though, with all them saying next Adam Silver Photoshop was disgusting.
That was pretty cringy. Wasn't it?
I think we could have just skipped it this year. Maybe not.
I think we could have done without LaMelo Ball awkwardly photoshopped it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we could have passed. That's okay. We'll save that for another year. But let's start about the trades. So no trades in the top 15. We're talking about there's Timberwolves may trade 1 or Golden State may trade 2. No trades in the top 15 at all. Were you surprised by that?
I was shocked to see no trades inside the top 15. This has got to be the first time in years where there were no trades in the lottery. I was definitely expecting some movement from teams like the Hawks, Knicks, Warriors, with all the talk that was going on, but I guess it was all just smokescreen because, they all ended up staying put. I guess they all liked the guys that were available when they were up. I guess maybe some of it, too, had to do with, coronavirus and not knowing how much money they're going to have and how much, they're going to be affected by, the salary cap and stuff like that. So they want to take these younger players who are obviously not going to command as much money.
Yeah, Matt. I actually didn't think there was going to be a whole lot of trades going on.
Oh, okay.
Because,
so you're like a wizard. Or
yeah, I'm a
whatever.
wizard, clearly.
Congrats,
The reason why I kind of thought that was because I look at the NFL draft, and we were talking about all these crazy speculation and stuff that was going to happen. It was pretty chalk. It went kind of how we thought it was going to go.
Right.
So it was like, I thought the NBA was going to be the same way. You brought up some good reasons, a lot of uncertainty. People, there's always speculation. There's always smoke out there. Most of it's not ever going to happen. But I was shocked with some of the picks in the draft.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where I was like, oh boy. And I had a feeling we were going to see a couple surprising picks. Like, it happens every year. But there was definitely a lot. Top 3 was pretty easy.
Pretty chalk.
Yeah, I think you could have argued Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball at 1, but you knew the other one was going to go at 3. Right. Edwards goes 1. James Wiseman to the Warriors at 2, fills a center need. LaMelo Ball becomes, the one running the franchise there. Maybe we'll finally see that LeVar Ball, Michael Jordan one-on-one game.
Oh my God, I can't believe that was like the first thing that people brought up on Twitter and on ESPN. Like they're like, LeVar Ball versus Michael Jordan. And
I would love to see it.
I mean, yeah,
Come
I'm sure they'll find a way to like make it happen and like have it be like kind of close, but Michael Jordan ends up winning.
No, I think knowing Jordan, if you watch that Last Dance, I think he does not take anything lightly. He doesn't give it easy to anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Apparently he I don't know if you heard. This is really off track. I don't know if you heard of these stories though, but apparently Steven Jackson, when he was with the Bobcats, was talking a lot of mess to Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan just absolutely killed him in a one-on-one in front of everybody.
I believe it.
Yep, and then apparently Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, he destroyed him in a one-on-one.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, of all people, destroyed Michael Jordan?
No, other way. Jordan destroyed him.
Oh,
I may have
my
said
God.
that wrong.
I was going to...
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? With that jump shot,
Yeah.
he destroyed him?
Michael Jordan was just like... Yeah, but did Michael Jordan ever see him play basketball? Because
Yeah.
I guarantee if you watch one Kentucky game in 2012, he'd be like, yeah, we're not taking this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe not. But anyways, though, LaMelo Ball kind of becomes the new face of the franchise there with the Hornets. But definitely some surprising picks in this draft. So I guess we'll go into it, Matt. What was some of the big surprises for you?
Well, obviously, I mean, we got to start with Patrick Williams going to Chicago.
Oh, my God.
That was quite a reach of a pick by Chicago. They drafted a guy at 4 who was obviously a huge reach in Patrick Williams. If he's your guy, fine, but you can trade back and get him and gain some more assets in trading back. Then they drafted, the Bulls had a disaster of a draft, and even with the firing of their front office this offseason, it didn't feel like it changed anything because it was the same old Bulls making the same stupid mistakes that they've made since the end of the Jordan era.
I think they drafted worse. At least last year they drafted Kobe White,
Right.
who was all rookie. They drafted Wendell Carter, who got better this year, improved. Lauri Markkanen, when he's healthy, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
So they haven't drafted terribly per se. I did not like their draft at all.
No.
I thought they had the worst draft of any team.
Yeah, I think they're easily one of the biggest losers
Oh,
of this
yes,
draft.
absolutely.
It's not even a question.
And don't get me wrong, there were other teams high on Patrick Williams. I had him going 7 in my mock draft to the Pistons. I thought that was high as well, but I did that because I thought that's who the Pistons were going to take. But then I was hearing him at 4, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty high. And he went. I thought he was more of like a mid-late first-round pick.
Yeah.
Guy you can maybe gamble on in the 15 to 20 range. If you want to kind of swing for the fences. Matt, this guy didn't even start a game at Florida State.
That was the biggest thing. I didn't even realize that. They said that on a broadcast. I was like, are you serious?
Didn't even
they
start
just
a
took
game.
the guy, the 4th overall pick, and he didn't even start a game in college. That blows my mind.
I will say this, though. Very versatile player, super athletic. He's the second youngest player in the draft. A two-way player. Did win ACC Sixth Man of the Year, though. So he was.
Well, yeah. Yeah, if he's the 4th pick, I hope he won
Yeah,
something.
at least he won Sixth Man. But in my opinion, Matt, there are just so many better options there, like Denny Advia, Obi Toppin, Tyrese Halliburton, all kind of
absolutely.
slipped in the draft.
Yeah.
But also too, they drafted Marko Simonovic. And I maybe haven't seen a whole lot of his game, but I didn't think that pick made a whole lot of sense either. Because I was like, don't you want to get someone who can come in right away? He's probably gonna be a guy who's a draft and stash.
Yeah, he seems like a guy who's going to be a G League for lifer.
Yeah. Does he ever come overseas?
Yeah, exactly. Saying Dario Saric, he's never coming over. Shout out Howard Eskin. Anyway, the Bulls draft was a disaster. It makes me itch just talking about it. They needed a good draft so badly. They had a great opportunity. They were in the fourth pick. You can do so much with that, and they did. They just messed it up.
Yeah, they really did. And looking at, they have this, budding star, if you will, in Zach LaVine, who is one of those guys who's a really good player on a bad team. And, and he's currently committed to the Bulls. He hasn't ever said, I want to play somewhere else. But you kind of just wonder how long is it going to take for him to want to be somewhere else,
right. Mm-hmm. And there's already rumors swirling around of him possibly being traded this offseason here. I've heard, my king Daryl Morey is trying to get in on Zach LaVine here to get to the Sixers, but I don't think it'll happen. But just the fact that the rumors are starting to swirl already is probably not a good sign for Chicago.
No, it is not. We'll see how that unfolds. See if maybe Patrick Williams is better than we think. But Matt, let's talk about another. I guess we'll get all the negative news out first. Now that we're on it, talk about some draft day losers. Is there any other teams or any other players that maybe you weren't a huge fan of that we would consider a loser here?
This might be my Sixers hate coming out, but I think a big loser is the Boston Celtics. I didn't like their draft picks at all. I think Aaron Naismith is overrated and won't fit in Boston's system very well. And I also think Peyton Pritchard is just this year's version of Carson Edwards for them. Big name college player that won't necessarily translate to the NBA. I don't like either of those picks. They had 2 first-round picks, and they ended up trading the 30th pick to Memphis as well. They traded Desmond Bane, who I actually think is probably a better player than Pritchard. I didn't like their draft at all. But I like to see it, considering maybe help the Sixers out.
Honestly, I kind of like their draft.
No, I didn't.
I thought Aaron Nesmith at 14. Look, at the end of the day, Matt, shooting wins you games.
Yeah,
shooting wins you games. And Aaron Nesmith averaged 23 points per game at Vanderbilt. Shot ridiculous numbers from 3. The thing that always concerned me when watching him is his jump shot it has like a hitch to it. It's not super fluid. So I wonder, he has range on it. He obviously makes them in high clips. He can shoot off the dribble. He can catch and shoot. But I do get a little concerned because it's just not like a really quick release at all. And how many great shooters in the NBA don't have quick releases? So
exactly.
that does concern me. I'm not gonna lie to you. But Peyton Pritchard, I thought that was a great pick.
No,
dude, you had to watch him in Oregon.
I loved watching him in Oregon. I don't think he's a first-round pick.
Really? I mean,
I don't think so.
I thought he was a borderline first-rounder.
No.
I disagree with you on that one. I thought that was a good pick. And he fits there. Brad Wanamaker, the Celtics did not. They did not pick up his qualifying offer, so he is currently an unrestricted free agent. So that means that they are looking to move elsewhere. So that means that there's a vacant backup point guard spot behind Kemba Walker there. Marcus Smart can play some point, but you really want another guy, like Brad Wanamaker wasn't great, but he was solid for them. I think there'll be some competition there between Carson Edwards, between Tremont Waters, who was really good for them in the G League last year, and Peyton Pritchard. So I like the Pritchard pick. He's a guy who's a senior. He can come in right away and contribute to winning basketball.
Yeah, I've learned over the years that you never question Danny Ainge. Maybe I'm making a mistake here questioning him and questioning his draft process, but he's hurt me in the past. So I just can't get behind the Peyton Pritchard pick. I can't.
Man, I'm sorry. I got to disagree with you on that one. I thought that was a good pick. But another team that I was really scratching my head on with the draft is the Utah Jazz. I didn't get theirs at all. They made a whole lot of trades. Udoka Azubuike, I mean, I get it. Like, he kind of is a similar player to Rudy Gobert, but I don't know. I just thought, like, they could have done better at that pick. And then also Elijah Hughes, who they traded for. Didn't really like him that much out of Syracuse either. I think he was a little overhyped when he was there. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just feel like the Jazz, I don't always love their draft. I mean, Donovan Mitchell was a fantastic pick, don't get me wrong, and I thought he was going to be a pretty good player coming out. Not what he is now. I didn't think he'd be a superstar, but I liked him a lot. But they drafted, like, Trey Lyles in the past, Tony Bradley. Like, this team just can't draft.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Oh, who was that Australian kid they drafted?
Oh, Dante Exum?
Yeah, who tore his ACL like 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, can't blame him for that, but, like, still, like, I wasn't a great, like...
Raul Neto.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the Azubuike pick. I think that's how you say his name.
Azubuike, yeah.
Well, yeah, like that. I think I immediately thought it was a questionable pick as well, just because he's so similar to Rudy Gobert. He's a very similar player in terms of the fact that he's not a great shooter. He's more of a big man down low that's going to man down the middle. But it's like, why do you need that? You already have that, and Rudy Gobert is going to play 36 minutes a game. Like, you don't need another Rudy Gobert
unless they want to replicate when Gobert's off the court, something similar to that. I'm guessing that was their philosophy.
maybe.
Azubuike is a very good defender, really good shot blocker, very efficient inside the paint. So he does a lot of the similar things Gobert does. And he lost a lot of weight, much better conditioned. He's a lot more spry, more athletic, good guarding ball screens as well for a guy his size. So there definitely is some similarities there, and maybe they just try to mirror that. But I didn't really love their draft. I didn't, again, like I said, Elijah Hughes, I think he went 39. I just thought there was a lot better players to be had there. I just didn't really like their draft that much.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But let's talk about some teams that we did like a lot. Give me one of your winners, Matt.
I don't even care if this is a homer pick. I'm taking the Sixers. Oh, just kidding. It was just about Kai Bowman. Yeah, he got waived. I don't even care if this is a homer pick. I'm taking the Sixers. They're my big winner in this draft. Morey has already made a significant difference on this team, shedding Horford's contract. Hallelujah. Gaining 2 proven shooters in Danny Green and Seth Curry is incredible for this team. They need that. I think that's when Simmons and Embiid were at their best in 2017-2018 when they had Redick, Robert Covington, man in the outside who could shoot threes. As for the draft picks, I'm a little concerned a tad about Tyrese Maxey's three-point shooting, but he excels at dribbling and creating his own shot, which is something the Sixers haven't had in like 8 years. So I do like that pick. If he improves his three-point shooting, I think it's going to be a great pick. I think he was a steal, though, at 21. I also love their second-round pick in Isaiah Joe, who they were looking at taking with their first pick, actually, in the first round, but he just fell right in their laps in their second-round pick. I think he was at 46 or something. Yeah, and I think they got another guy, too, at 58 who's a good shooter. So I love the approach of going after shooters because they were so desperate for it. And they got rid of Al Horford. They got rid of Josh Richardson, who I think didn't fit. I like Richardson as a player, but he wasn't going to fit with the Sixers again. So I loved their draft. I loved everything that Morey did on draft night. You can't say enough about it. I think they're the biggest winner here in this NBA draft. Easy A.
Yeah, when you talk about everything they did, not just solely the draft picks, I definitely do think they were the winners, Matt. I can't lie. I'm unfortunately pouring gasoline on your Sixer fire right now. But, yeah, I mean, getting rid of Al Horford's contract, it finally happened. Danny Green, look, you can say what you want about him, but the man has 3 rings with 3 different teams, also won a championship with UNC, too. He's a winner, always has been. He contributes to winning basketball. He's a guy who can guard the best perimeter player, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be an effective player. We talk about the three-point shooting and how the Sixers were at their best when they had those guys. Marco Bellinelli was another guy, too. Landry Shamet was another guy that they had. All these shooters that they had, and Elton Brand, maybe the worst general manager of basketball, was like, let's get rid of all of them. So Danny Green comes in right away. Easy fit for the Sixers. And then Seth Curry, I thought this was a nice trade, too. Josh Richardson never really seemed to fit with what they needed. I think Seth Curry is the perfect player for that team. A little surprised the Mavericks gave him up. I was shocked about that trade. I was like, they must really like Tyler Bay because that was, they got Josh Richardson back, who is a good player, and he was really good with the Heat, so maybe he can be that good of a player with the Mavericks, but they must really like Tyler Bay because I wouldn't have done it if I was at Dallas. I think Seth Curry is a really valuable player, one of the best shooters in basketball. But now he's on the Sixers. I think he fills a perfect position. You talk about J.J. Redick. He's a pretty similar player to him who can, shoot from all over the place, always ready to put him up. And I think that was a big get for the Sixers. And Tyrese Maxey, I think I'm a little higher on him than you are. I think the shooting percentages were not good. Ball don't lie. But I think he is a better shooter than the percentages show. He's also a big-time player when the lights are the brightest. Anytime Kentucky needed a bucket, he got the ball in his hands, and he almost, for the most part, delivered. He wakes up at 4 a.m. every day to go to the gym, works out 3-4 times a day. Yeah. This is a grinder they got here. Also a clutch agent, clutch player as well with Ben Simmons. So, maybe there's a little bit of a connection there. But This was a great pick by the Sixers. 21, perfect spot for him to land. He could have won even a little higher, in my opinion, but a very good draft day for the Sixers when you talk about all the moves they made.
Yeah, and another thing about Seth Curry that's pretty underrated here, he is Doc Rivers' son-in-law because he married Doc Rivers' daughter. So, which was beef back in LA because Paul George and Doc Rivers' daughter did not work out too well. So
no, they did not, and perhaps that is why things went the way they did back there. But I think that the Sixers had a phenomenal draft. And I say draft day because, some of the moves they also made. But, Matt, was there any other teams that, thought did a really good job?
This might be surprising to you because of my constant hate on them, but I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. As I said earlier, they had their guy fall into their lap. Oh, I didn't say this earlier. But they had their guy fall into their laps at 8 in Obi Toppin. When they were thinking about trading up for him, they were thinking about going in the top 5, possibly trading with Cleveland there. But the more I think about the Emmanuel Quickley pick as well at 25, the more it grows on me. They still need a point guard, but I have a feeling they'll fill that hole at some point this weekend, possibly today. And I do think Obi Toppin is a better pick than I originally thought when they took him. My initial reaction was, oh no, but I do think that he's better than that. I don't know if I love him at the 4. Or I don't know if I love him at the 3 if they play him at the 3 because I just don't think his defense is there. He doesn't have the quickness to keep up on defense. But I think I do like him at the 4. I think the Knicks need to get rid of Julius Randle and let Toppin kind of find his way there. But I do like the pick more than Stephen A. Smith did.
Yeah, I think I also had the Knicks as one of my winners too. I thought this was a great first draft by Leon Rose, his first go at it, running the Knicks organization here. I think a big difference, what they did in this draft, is they prioritized more proven players. Mm-hmm. They prioritized bigger name school guys, and they didn't really gamble as much here. They were a lot more safe. And I think not even safe, but smart. I think that's the big key here. For one, they actually traded 27 and 38 up to 23, and they were going to use 8 and 23 to move up to 5 to take Obi Toppin. Mm-hmm. They played it really smart. They played the weight game. They knew Obi Toppin was going to fall to them in 8, and they took him. That was their guy all along. He's from Brooklyn, New York. You saw how emotional he was after he got drafted. That guy, this is a guy who has such a high character and cares so much about winning. That is the type of player the Knicks need. They need a guy who's competitive like that, who's going to do whatever it takes. He had no Division I scholarships coming out of high school. Couldn't dunk a basketball till he was a senior in high school. And now he's doing in between the leg dunks in game. I mean, this is how crazy of an athlete he is. He was a National Basketball Player of the Year. And just an absolute human highlight reel. We always joke how the Knicks have 8 power forwards on their teams, but I don't even care because at this point in the draft, you're drafting guys who are going to be the cornerstones of your franchise. I don't really care about the position there because Obi Toppin is going to be one of those guys for them. I really do think that him and RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, it's a start. It's a start there, and maybe they can build off that. Also, again, like you said, Emmanuel Quickley, didn't love the pick. I had more of a second-round grade on him, but look, SEC Player of the Year there, and won a ton of games at Kentucky, and if you look at what Tyrese Maxey did, he was more of the 2 guard who kind of, controlled a lot of the offense. Quickly can play off the ball. He's one of the best catch-and-shoot 3-point shooters in the draft, and that is a perfect complement next to a ball-dominant 2 guard like an RJ Barrett. So Quickly really slides in well there. And Daniel Oturu, big man from Minnesota, he is a really good low-post scorer and just more of an offensive player. And Mitchell Robinson's more of a defensive guy. So those 2 guys complement him there. What the Knicks are doing is they're building a basketball team. That's what they're doing here. And so that's why I think they were a big winner because it just seemed like they used to just throw darts at a board and go, we're going to take this guy and not really know what they were going to do with him. Now they have a plan in place, and that's why I think they're big winners of this draft.
I absolutely agree. And like you said, they just needed dudes, man. They just needed guys who could play the game and improve their team. They need to build a team. And, building a team with young guys instead of just going out and getting a 34-year-old veteran who was cool back in 7 years ago. This is the way the Knicks need to build their team. This is the way that James Dolan needs to run this team. This is what's going to get people to care about the Knicks again.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Suns a little bit where they kind of last year built a culture and they established something there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see that they build something, they build momentum, and it makes them confident enough that they can trade for a guy like a Chris Paul, who now they have a team, now they have something building there. The Knicks aren't quite there yet, but maybe in a couple of years from now, they can kind of rebuild that New York brand of basketball. Maybe R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, or pop off as stars, and that the Knicks can kind of get back to their glory days a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Obi Toppin meshes with R.J. Barrett because I do think their styles of play kind of complement each other. With Toppin being, I think he's kind of a bruiser down low more than what he showed at Dayton. I think he can become a bruiser down low. So if that's the case, and R.J. Barrett is slashing to the rim, I think that'd be a pretty good pick and roll combo.
Could be potentially. Obi Toppin was used in so many different ways at Dayton. Hopefully for Tom Thibodeau there, he can use him very similarly.
Just don't play him 44 minutes a game.
Yes, yeah. Don't ruin his career after 3 seasons and destroy his legs.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. You have any other winners from this draft?
I've got one last one. I think Detroit had a good draft just for the sake that they had 3 first-round picks in the first 19. That's fantastic. I love the Sadiq Bey pick for them as well at 19, which they got in the 3-way trade with Brooklyn and L.A.
Yep.
They needed some young shooters. They got that. They needed just an influx. Same thing as New York. They just needed an influx of young talent. Young, cheap talent that they can hold on to for a couple of years and build kind of a culture, like we said with the Knicks. I think they did a great job of that. Having 3 first-round picks that early, I think that's a great move for them. Great draft for them. I know their pick at 16 wasn't great, but I do love the Sadiq Bey pick at 19.
Yeah, I thought their draft was pretty good. I think I didn't love Killian Hayes at 7, but I will say he's entering a great situation there because Derrick Rose is there, and he's a guy who can help him develop, and he can learn behind him. So I do like the idea behind that. He's entering a good situation, Killian Hayes. I thought Isaiah Stewart was one of my least favorite picks of the draft. I didn't love him at 16, but I like him a lot as a player. And I think, he could be something there for Detroit. So I'm not going to hate on that one too much. I just think they reached a little bit. Sadiq Bey was my favorite pick that they made, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe, I'd say he's probably my favorite player of those 3. I thought he'd be more of a guy who would go to a win-now team and contribute to a winning brand of basketball, but that's okay. He's still pretty young. He goes to Detroit, great 2-way player. He's a great 3-point shooter, really developed his offensive game since the moment he stepped onto Villanova's campus, and he's a winner. And we've seen that pretty much all these first-round picks out of Villanova, they're all very good players in the NBA. They're well coached by Jay Wright. They play a modern style of play at Villanova, so that probably explains a lot of it too.
Yeah, and they'll always, and like you said with the modern style, it just seems that every time a Villanova player gets drafted, they come in and they contribute right away. You saw it with Mikal Bridges in Phoenix. You saw it with Dante DiVincenzo in Milwaukee. Jalen Brunson even in Dallas, and then even you can go as far back as Ryan Arcidiacono. With
Josh Hart.
Hart.
Yeah.
They just always can find a way to contribute. Even if it's in a small role, they always find a way to contribute. And I think that's just the way Villanova always plays basketball. That translates to the NBA.
Yeah, it really does. So you got to shout out Jay Wright there for coaching these guys up.
Yeah.
But another team that I thought won, and maybe this is like the obvious pick, but I think the Minnesota Timberwolves had a great draft. Now, I think they did an awesome job managing the number 1 pick. No one really knew who it was going to be leading up to it. No one knew if they were going to trade it. It was the most in the dark I felt about that pick. I thought it would be Anthony Edwards, like that was my feeling, but I wasn't sure. I was just all right, logically, who would I take there? But they get Anthony Edwards. I think he's the most talented player in the draft. I think that was the right pick. I love LaMelo Ball too, but the fit with D'Angelo Russell didn't make as much sense.
Yeah.
Edwards makes more sense there. Really, really like the Jaden McDaniels pick at number 28. I thought that was a great value. Leandro Bomaro as well at number 23. I think he could end up being one of those players that we look back and go, he should have went a lot earlier. They end up getting Ricky Rubio back to Minnesota as well. Maybe he can help kind of, mend the bridge a bit with D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. They also have Malik Beasley there as well, potentially, if they re-sign him. So I think the Timberwolves had a really nice draft. Rosas, their GM, played it really well, and they did what they had to do, made a couple moves, 3 first-round picks, and I think they nailed all 3 of them.
Yeah, I like the McDaniels pick as well, but obviously Anthony Edwards, you can't go wrong with that pick. I also think they got it right. I didn't think LaMelo Ball would have fit well there. Also, same thing with James Wiseman, obviously. But I do love Anthony Edwards going there because I think he'll be able to play off of D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns in a productive way. Because he doesn't play the same position as them, which was a concern with LaMelo Ball. And, when you get a guy who complements them in terms of positionally and being able to space out the floor, that's always good. And I think, his defense is kind of underrated. I know it's not great, but I do think it's something that he needs to improve on in Minnesota. And I think as a team, obviously they need to be improved. We talked about that at nauseum on this podcast, how bad their defense is. So it's only up from here. Can't get worse.
Yeah, I think that Anthony Edwards has all the ability in the world. And I always say this, and it's crazy, because when you hear me out loud, it's like, what? Anthony Edwards does not know how to play basketball. He does not. Like, he takes terrible shots sometimes. He, doesn't always make the greatest reads, but all the ability is there. Mm-hmm. I mean, can score on all three levels. He is extremely athletic. I mean, he's like a linebacker playing the two guard, which is ironic because he said he'd rather play football. But
bold thing to say before the
bold
draft.
thing to say before the draft. Like, someone doesn't want to get picked by Minnesota.
Yeah.
Although it's not the worst situation to end up in based on who they already have. But I really do think this was the right pick. He's extremely talented, and hopefully he can find his true potential and not become another Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah. Oh God, if he becomes another Wiggins, Minnesota's going to be crying themselves to sleep. But I also think he was a good pick. I think he was the right pick. Like we said, I'm excited to see how he does with D'Angelo Russell because I do think they're in a better situation to win quicker than some of the other teams in the lottery just because they have great players in Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell already there. If they can improve their defense, they could possibly compete. I don't know about for a playoff spot, but they can show some competitiveness.
Yeah, and you kind of want that for the Timberwolves. This team has literally been absolute poop since Kevin Garnett got traded in 2007. It's crazy they still have not recovered. Mm-hmm. Yikes. So you gave all your teams, right?
Yeah.
So I got one more team, and we talked about them a little bit, but I really liked what the Memphis Grizzlies did again. Yeah. I always love their drafts. I mean, last year, John Moran, of course, that was a given at number 2, but then they made an awesome pick with Brandon Clark. I felt like they did the same thing again with Desmond Bane and getting Xavier Tillman in a trade as well. I thought both of those guys are seasoned vets. They're not gonna. You're probably not getting a star player out of either of these guys, but they don't need that. They have those guys already. I think both of them can come in right away, make immediate impact. And the Grizzlies are going to be one of those young teams trying to get a playoff spot next season.
Oh my God, I was so high on Desmond Bane. I'm glad the Sixers took Tyrese Maxey, but I wanted the Sixers to take Desmond Bane so bad just because his 3-point percentage was 44% senior year.
And he's a great defensive player.
Oh my God.
Really high character kid.
Yeah, I cannot believe he slipped all the way to 30. I can't believe that.
I was hearing lottery potentially for him.
I know. I thought he was skedoodling his way up the draft board.
Skedoodling. I had him going 20.
Oh my! I would have loved Desmond Bane on the Sixers, but I'll be fine. I'll be okay. I think it seems like the Grizzlies always do have a good draft, and they always do exactly what Twitter wants them to do.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe listen to those tweets more. Yeah. Listen to the haters. They actually give good advice. Like, oh, okay.
Oh, Desmond Bane is still there.
Yeah.
And they did need a shooter too. They badly needed a shooter to complement John Moran.
They absolutely did, and a defensive guy. I thought this was a phenomenal pick by them. But
very underrated draft for them, huh? Very underrated.
Yeah, very. I mean, they traded technically for both those guys. They didn't draft either technically.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt, was there any other players that you really liked pick wise that maybe either like a fit or maybe they fell to a team? Any guys like that?
I loved Devin Vassell to the Spurs or Vassell, I think. Vassell,
it's Vassell.
Yeah, I love Devin Vassell to the Spurs. I think the Spurs they needed a guy to build, but they needed a shooter too at shooting guard there. And he's very experienced coming from Florida State, so I think that's a great pick for them. I think he's going to fit their culture very well. I also loved Tyrese Halliburton being a steal for the Kings at 12. I thought he was going to go inside the top 10, but he fell away to the 12 to Sacramento. Though, I mean, I could totally see the Sacramento Kings screwing that up just because they do that all the time. I also love the Hawks pick of Onyeka
Okongwu, yeah.
Yeah, what he said.
You got it.
A lot of really bad names in this draft.
A lot of Nigerian players. I think like 6 Nigerian people got drafted first round.
Yeah, man, I can't. You'd think with my last name I'd be able to do this, but I can't. But I think this is a good pick for the Hawks. I think they're going to move on from Clint Capella pretty soon here. I could see him getting traded in the offseason, but I like his pick at 6, even though there's some concerns with his toe injury that came out right before the draft. But I
That's
think
nothing.
Yeah, that's.
Nothing.
I think it'll be fine. I did love that pick for the Hawks. I think that's all my loves, and Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah. Onyeka Okongwu was one of my least favorite picks in the draft based on where he went.
Okay.
Because Clint Capella's still there, so it kind of bugs me a little bit. If they move Capella and they let Onyeka, it's one of my least favorite picks for him. I don't love him with the Hawks currently because of Clint Capella there.
Well, if they trade Capella, it won't be an issue.
No, it won't be. But, I mean, Daryl Morey was smart to trade him. He knew that contract was terrible.
Awful.
So I don't know if the Hawks are going to get off that for a while. Unless they just let Onyeka, they go, screw you, Clint Capella. Onyeka's, our guy. Then I like it a little bit more. But I feel bad for him being there. One of my favorite picks was Devin Vassell, and I really like the Trey Jones pick as well for the San Antonio Spurs. I thought he was a guy.
About that one.
Thought he could have been a first-round pick. He went 41 instead. Really weird. Duke didn't have any first-round picks.
Who did?
Duke had no first-round picks.
Yeah, that's like the first time
they had 3 guys go in the second.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. And I believe that Kansas, UNC, Kentucky, and Duke, none of them had a lottery pick, which is the first time since 2000.
That's a long time. Is that a long time? 20 years is a long time, right?
I think it's a long time.
How old were you in 2000?
I was a year old.
I was 2 years old.
Yeah, you're
or 24 months.
Yeah,
as
at that point you're on the months.
Yeah.
I remember. You ever seen Grown Ups?
Yes.
Yes. You remember the kid that my kid's 48 months, he's 4,
and he's still breastfeeding.
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of a little bit. He's 4.
This is young Devin. He's 32 months.
Yeah. Yeah, but love the Devin Vassell pick. Just a great fit. And he was a guy who I thought should have went earlier. I had the Knicks taking him at 8, but I also didn't have Obi Toppin there either, so that made sense. But I thought Devin Vassell should have went earlier. I think, yes, he's a great defensive player and a 3-point shooter. We know that. A lot more to his offensive game, though, than people think.
Yeah.
Can really get to the basket, cuts without the ball. I think he could be one of the best players in this draft. And, of course, my love for Trey Stones.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
He's amazing.
You have the nicknames on deck, don't you?
But he was a really good player at Duke. It was a great decision for him to come back because he got a lot better. ACC Player of the Year, one of the best on-ball defenders in this draft. Well-deserved and good spot in San Antonio. The Washington Wizards, another team with a great draft. Danny Advia just slipped to them at 9. He was, I thought, arguably a top 3 player in this draft to number 9. We're going to look back and go, how did that happen? Great fit next to Bradley Beal and John Wall. I think he can start right away and make an immediate impact. And then Cassius Winston in the second round, another nice pick. I think they traded for him. He can be coming off that second unit and really kind of carrying things. Or if John Wall, they try to bring him back slowly, Cassius Winston, I think, can come in right away and not be afraid of the moment.
Yeah, I think Winston is a very underrated pick because of the fact, he was a 4-year player at Michigan State. He's going to come in. He's going to know what to do. He's going to translate well to the NBA. He's going to be ready to come in and contribute right away, hopefully. 'Cause I loved him in Michigan State, too.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, too. Unfortunately, what happened with his brother.
Right.
And he just really was out of it. So I hope that, he's recovering well there and also, ready to go come game time. But, I don't want to show too much Duke love here, but a guy who's one of the best athletes in the draft, Cassius Stanley, went 54. I feel like you rarely get a guy like that fall to your lap. I thought that was a nice pick by the Pacers. Precious Achiuwa to the Miami Heat. I actually wrote the Miami Meat in my script.
What?
The Miami Meat selects Precious. He's like, what? But I thought that was a nice pick. We've seen them groom some big men over the past. And then I wrote my script too. I thought Peyton Pritchard was a nice pick, and I really liked Malachi Flynn. He was one of my sleepers in the draft, going to the Raptors.
Yeah.
Whether they keep or lose Fred VanVleet actually reminds me of him a lot.
Yeah.
Not a big guy, not explosive player, but
Mid-major
all-around bucket and great defensive player too.
I like the Malachi Flynn pick as well. I was kind of waiting around in that late first round to see when he would go. I think he's a great fit in Toronto. I feel like, with Nick Nurse, I feel like anybody he plugs in there is going to play well. So
yeah, it does seem like that. That's going to be our draft coverage here. We're going to talk about some big trades that happened over the last 7 days. Big trades. Let's talk about maybe the biggest one. That's Chris Paul going to the Suns. In case you missed it, I'll give you the details. So the Suns received Chris Paul and Abdel Nader as well from the Thunder in exchange for Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and a 2022 first-round pick. Matt, do you think this move propels them into the playoffs?
I think it puts them in the mix for a playoff spot, certainly. With Chris Paul there, there's no question about that. But I don't think it makes them a legit contender. I still think they need to make some sort of addition in free agency, maybe make another trade, which might be tough with Paul and Booker's contract. But they need to add one more piece, I think, in order to become a legit contender.
Are you talking contender for a playoff spot or contender for a championship?
Championship.
Okay, all right. I was going to say, because I think, I'm going to say it here, they're making the playoffs next year. I'm calling it right now.
Chris Paul doesn't miss the playoffs.
Chris Paul didn't miss the playoffs with probably not, you can argue, not as talented Thunder team, and they were a 5 seed.
Yeah.
He didn't have, love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I do. And I think he's a star in the making. But he's not as good as Devin Booker is right now. He's not Devin Booker right now. 2 Kentucky guards, though. But I look at what Devin Booker is doing there. I think he's going to play so well off of Chris Paul. Oh, my
Absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
I think DeAndre Ayton is one of the most underrated players in basketball. Really, I get it. They passed on Luka Doncic. They passed on Trae Young. They passed on some better players. But DeAndre Ayton is a really good big man who's great in the pick and roll. You know he's going to be awesome with Chris Paul there.
Yeah.
They got 2 really good wings there, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson as well, 2 snipers on the outside. I think that this is a really good team that built off great momentum, really well coached. Him and Monty Williams coached Chris Paul in New Orleans. People do forget about that, so they have that relationship already. I am saying it right now. Today is November 20th. The season starts December 22nd. The Suns will be in the playoffs this year.
The
drought's over.
Yeah, I think so too. It does get pretty droughty out there in Phoenix. Not a lot of rain.
Dry place.
Not a lot
Arizona.
of rain out there in Phoenix, but I think they can make the playoffs. I just don't know how much noise they'll make in the playoffs once they get there. You can't count on a Chris Paul team ever because it is Chris Paul. He's going to give you everything. But I think the Suns are a very underrated defensive team. Chris Paul, obviously, we know how great he is on defense. Devin Booker can get better under Monty Williams. Mikal Bridges, fantastic defender. DeAndre Ayton getting better as a defender. I think this could be a pretty stout defensive team, which is a change in the culture that we saw from Mike D'Antoni's era with the Suns there in the late 2000s.
Yeah, and a lot of people disagreed with me. I didn't think they really gave up anything crazy for Chris Paul. All those players are replaceable. I'll say it right now. Kelly Oubre is the one guy you're like, all right, but I think they still have guys there anyway. I wasn't really that concerned. Like, I give up something for him. The 22 first-round pick, whatever, we'll give that up. Yeah. Like, at this point, you got to make a move. You got to keep Devin Booker happy. This was the move they had to make.
Yeah.
I think I said on this podcast that they may trade for him. Did I not?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
We did talk about that. Yeah, so ball don't lie. We think ahead on these things.
Hell yeah.
We do. So
to be fair, we also listed like 8 or 9 teams.
We listed all 30 teams. Like, we got it right.
Yeah.
Nah, but it was a great fit. Let's talk about another trade that really shocked me. I didn't really see this one coming. Drew Holiday to the Bucks. They gave up Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks for Drew Holiday. Now, the Bucks do have the second-best championship odds after this trade, so this was clearly an upgrade from what they had. But, I don't know, Matt, do you think they gave up too much for him?
I don't think they gave up too much.
You don't?
And here's why. Bledsoe stunk. We've talked about that.
Yeah, we have called him out.
I honestly think George Hill will be a bigger loss than Bledsoe will. The 3 first-round picks is a big oof. They have to be convinced that Giannis will re-sign unless those first-round – if they're going to give up 3 first-round picks, they had to be convinced he's coming back because or else those first-round picks, they're going to be pretty valuable if Giannis isn't there. So that people were saying like it was the equivalent to what the Lakers gave up for Anthony Davis. No,
it's not. No.
It's not close to that. But just the 3 first-round picks, everybody sees that and they're like, whoa, hefty. But no, if Giannis stays, it's going to be small potatoes.
Yeah, I think that's the big if here. Giannis is up for a supermax, up for $230 million extension. We'll see if he accepts it or not. But it is on the table. You know they're going to offer it to him because why wouldn't they? They did overpay for Drew Holiday. I will say it flat out right now. Yes, they did. However, though, I always appreciate the teams that are very aggressive and calculated. They they know what they're doing, and it seemed like the Bucks did here. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton couldn't be the sole number 2 guy forever. We both have been saying this since last year that, like I said, Chris Middleton was the most valuable player to the Bucks' future because if he's not that great, then he's gonna want to leave. But they got the move. And I'm sure they're going to maybe make a move or 2 more. I mean, Bogdanovich, that's not looking good. There's a lot of investigations going on into some cahoodling in the...
Cahoodling?
Cahoodling. going on in between those two teams. Go figure, the Kings are involved in something bad.
Yeah.
But I do think that this was a great move by the Bucks, a much-needed move. They needed somebody, and maybe Drew Holiday could finally make the All-Star game because he's always fallen short, but now he's in the Eastern Conference, has a much better chance.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. But I think once they lost out on Chris Paul, they just needed somebody to come in and run point over there. I'm honestly not sure. Holiday's a great player, but he's not an elite player.
That's true.
That's gonna be
kind of on the level of Chris Middleton, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's not gonna he's not gonna be so overwhelmingly great that it has to keep Giannis there long term. I'm still leaning towards Giannis leaving over staying, but you got to get good guys around Giannis, and Drew Holiday can shoot the basketball, which is good. Chris Middleton can obviously shoot the basketball as long as it's in the regular season. So I think it's a great pick. It's definitely better than Eric Bledsoe.
That's a big thing.
That's gonna improve the starting lineup significantly.
And Dante DiVincenzo probably takes a bigger role too.
Yes, I'm glad that trade fell through with Bogdanovic because he was going to go off in that trade.
Yeah,
I liked DiVincenzo in Milwaukee. So.
Yeah, because they're giving up a lot for BBA too. They're giving up him and Ersan Ilyasova, two guys who give him minutes.
Well, they cut Ilyasova now anyway. At this
Did
time,
they cut him?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
They just released him.
I guess they didn't really need him, but
no.
Yeah. I mean, the Bucks. The one thing we talk about is how good their bench is.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they maybe got a little fortunate that they can keep Dante DiVincenzo there. But let's talk about another team that made a big move as well. The Los Angeles Lakers. It feels like forever ago because so many trades happened since then. But they got Dennis Schroeder for Danny Green, who then got traded to the Sixers. The number 28 pick, which was Jaden McDaniels, then got traded to the Timberwolves. So a lot of moving going on here. But what do you think about this move for the Lakers? How does this help them, try to get back to the championship next season?
I think this is a good move. I think he's probably going to start right away. Did he come off the bench in Oklahoma City? Yeah. So I don't think he's going to come off the bench with the Lakers. I think they needed a guard. I think he'll play off LeBron pretty well. He's a decent shooter. You thought he should have won Sixth Man of the Year this year.
I did.
So I do love the trade for the Lakers. They just always need dudes. They keep they can't stay packed. They can't stay, satisfied with their roster because the NBA changes year to year. They need to keep, that influx of talent and keep upgrading their team, and I think that's what this does.
Yeah, and I said that the Lakers had to make some moves. They had to, rearrange the furniture a little bit here. I finally said that on podcast. Let's go. I've been trying to say that for quite some time.
Rearrange the furniture. You've been sitting on that for a while?
Yeah, nice. I wanted to say it on something. I just think it's a great line.
I'm totally stealing that from you. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah. But back to the topic here. I think that we had too much fun on this podcast. I swear to God. But yeah, the Lakers did get a really good player here in Dennis Schroeder. I think maybe he's best served coming off the bench, but he played starter minutes. He averaged upwards of 30 minutes per game. Played really well in the playoffs too for Oklahoma City. Helped them claw that and make it a 7-game series. And I think the Lakers may be foreshadowing a little bit here because Rajon Rondo was such a big part of what the Lakers did this season, although everyone calling him trash, and now finally he showed him up and shut him up. So let me just ask you this, Matt. Does this mean that Rondo's all but gone in L.A.?
Not necessarily. I think he'll go to the Clippers, so he's not done in L.A.
Okay, maybe I should rephrase that.
Yeah, but I do think that Rondo will command a decent chunk of money on the open market with the way he played in the playoffs. And I think that puts him out of the Lakers' price range right now, so I do think he'll probably go to the Clippers. That's
and I think, but I will say, love Rondo, love what he did. But Schroeder is a better player right now. He can play on and off the ball, great scorer, great passer. Curious to see what the Lakers do. Do they start him? Does he lead the charge off the bench? Either way, they got a really good player in return. They didn't need Danny Green. And they also saved money with this trade, and I think Schroeder's a better player than Danny Green. So I'd say all in all, the Lakers had a good trade here. The Thunder were able to get that draft pick they wanted and get capital back for Danny Green. So I think both teams are fine with this.
Yeah, Sam Presti is just, accumulating all the draft picks. He's like Thanos when he gets all the stones.
I think it's like what was he? How many picks he have? Like
he's got it's like 15 or 20.
Yeah, over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of picks. He's gonna own the entire 2021 draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, he's gonna have every pick.
Yeah.
But that's pretty funny. But let's talk about another 3-team trade we saw happen. We talked about it a little bit. Sadiq Bey was traded technically to the Detroit Pistons. The Nets made that pick. But Landry Shamet comes to the Brooklyn Nets, and Luke Kennard goes from Detroit to the Clippers. I want to ask you this. Who do you think won that trade?
It's tough to say. I think there's benefits to all sides. I think the Clippers needed a new shooter off the bench. Shamet wasn't getting it done there. I love Kennard's smooth lefty shot. I'm a sucker for lefties. Landry Shamet will always hold a special place in my heart for that first half of a season he had with the Sixers. I've never fallen in love with a player so quickly. I think he'll be a good bench. My heart was broken.
You're like, I've never been more willing to go on down on one knee and propose to a player.
I love Landry Shamet. He was so smooth. Anyway, I think he will be a good bench player in Brooklyn if he ends up staying there and isn't just another asset for Brooklyn to dangle in front of Houston. So I think it's tough to say. I think if Shamet stays with the Nets and isn't just, something that is used to get Harden from Houston, I think the Nets might have won this trade. Depending on how Sadiq Bey is, you could argue Detroit. I think Luke Kennard is kind of like a stagnant move for the Clippers, kind of, to be quite honest with you. He's pretty similar to Shamet in terms of shooting. He might have better percentages, but I don't know if he'll play better with LA than he did in Detroit. I think it's up in the air. It's open for interpretation on who won this trade.
Yeah, I'm going to flip the house upside down here because I think that Luke Kennard was the best player traded in this trade.
You watch your mouth.
Yeah, here's why. You talk about the shooting, right? Who's a better shooter, whatever. Luke Kennard could do way more off the dribble, and maybe we didn't see that with Detroit as much, but he's a really, really good passer, was a high school quarterback. He can pass with either hand.
He was a lefty high school quarterback?
Yeah. He's actually a righty, like, in real life.
What do you mean in real life? This is real life, Hunter.
Like off the court. He's one of those athletes who shoots and does everything with his left, but he's actually a right-handed person.
So he's a right-handed quarterback?
I don't know. I guess you have to look up his highlights.
Guess where I'm going.
Anyway, I'll just keep talking while Matt looks this up. But Luke Kennard really broke out at Duke, of course, so he hits a soft spot here for me. Mm-hmm. But he is a really talented player that can do a lot on offense, very limited on defense, not the greatest athlete, but Clippers, I think he's a better player than Landry Shamet, so I'll give him that. Sadiq Bey is the interesting one here, because we talked about how much we like him, and we talked about the toughness he brings and things like that.
Bro, of course the one play I pull up, it's him running.
Yeah.
Come on,
we're
dude.
still looking for Luke Kennard football highlights. Didn't think we would do this today. Maybe that was my fault. I brought it up.
I'm down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
now.
I have shoved Matt down the rabbit hole, and he cannot come up forever.
There's a 10-second ad. Hold on.
Oh, my God. No, Pampers, I don't want your diapers.
Yeah. Detroit Free Press, damn.
Yeah, oh, the Free Press.
Yeah.
Always gets him every time.
Come on, just show me if he's left-handed. That's what I want to know. Oh, my God, another ad? Keep talking.
No, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, Luke Kennard, great lefty shot. The Clippers, let's see, if anybody's going to cheat on their coach's daughter some more.
Jesus Christ.
Damn, it's just a press conference. All right. I'm off the train now.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna figure this out after important business. But let's talk about a guy. We have to go to a serious note here. Klay Thompson, unfortunately, he suffered a leg injury. I believe yesterday or 2 days ago now. And it was looking serious. And unfortunately, we heard the bad news that he did tear his Achilles. That is going to be a season-ending injury, back-to-back for Klay Thompson. I mean, you really got to feel bad for the guy here. Yeah. But I want to know, Matt, just obviously we know how big of a blow this is for Golden State, but how do you see their season, kind of going forward and things like that?
Well, I mean, first of all, huge loss for Golden State and for basketball as well. I'm going to miss the Splash Brothers for yet another year. That's just painful. As much as everybody hated watching the Warriors all the time, I did love watching them shoot the basketball together. Pain. So, in terms of their season, I still think they're a playoff team. But much like the Suns, I see them on the lower end of the playoff seeding. Now, they got Kelly Oubre, obviously, but I don't think, nobody can replace Klay Thompson. Like, that's not going to happen. He's an all-time shooter. You can't just replace that. I think Kelly Oubre improves them. Obviously, James Wiseman improves them. And obviously having Steph Curry a whole year will improve them. But if they can stay healthy, I still think they're a playoff team, but I don't know if they're a top 4 playoff team.
I don't think Warriors make the playoffs this year.
Oh my God, he's hot. He's the hottest of takes.
Yeah,
I Go off, Queen.
I thought they would make it. I think Klay Thompson gets them out of it, like not having him. I really do, because the West is so competitive.
Right.
And
yeah, obviously.
This is not a diss to Steph Curry at all. Let me say that, but I just don't love their team. I think the big difference, a big reason why the Warriors succeeded the way they did, was how good that bench was. They had guys like Andre Iguodala. They had guys like Sean Livingston coming off the bench, Andrew Bogut. Like, they had all these guys, these weapons, all these weapons, but super reliable, and they always stepped up when the lights were the brightest. They don't really have that anymore. I mean, James Wiseman's a good rookie, and I think he can come in and make an immediate impact. But I mean, you can't be relying on a rookie to be like your third, fourth option on offense,
right?
Like, at least for a contending team. I like Kelly Oubre, but I think the basketball fit's a little weird. I'm still not sold on Andrew Wiggins being that guy.
Ugh.
And he's the one who has to step up the most now.
Ugh.
Yeah, see? Yeah, exactly. Now does my take sound so hot?
Oh, I mean, yeah, still. I mean, I'm just not going to bet against Steph Curry. It's not going to happen. 2-time MVP. He shoots the lights out. I love me some Steph Curry.
So do I, but I just don't really love that team. I mean, their bench is just not good at all. Unless
Eric Pascal's on the bench.
Yeah, but, I mean, he's that's what else? Like, what else? Yeah. Yeah, think about that.
Quinn Cook maybe again? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, all right. Maybe if they sign a couple players in free agency, maybe I'll change my mind.
I'm sure they will.
But right now, I just don't buy it. I don't. I think Klay Thompson, people forget how good and how important he is to that Golden State team. He's the best on-ball defender on the perimeter. Obviously, we know about the shooting. We know about his ability to carry that team when Steph Curry's off the court. Like, he's such a good player. And that's why I don't believe in them this year, because just how good of a player Klay Thompson is. I'm just not buying it.
Yeah. I mean, they're surely going to miss him. I mean, we all saw it last year how badly they missed Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But I think at least having one of them back. And I think Curry is the more important one to have back out of the two.
Yeah.
But I just don't. Wow, that take really pains me, Hunter. I don't know if I can see them missing the playoffs. I need Steph Curry in the playoffs. I need that shooting in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I need it.
Yeah. I need it.
I don't need it.
Yeah. But let's talk about some free agents here. A little bit of a preview. A guy who may be going to the Golden State Warriors, as you love this transition. Avery Bradley, a very high coveted player. The Lakers didn't need him to win a championship. They won it without him, but was really good when he was there. A defensive player. But really started to find his offense as well. How do you see him kind of playing out in free agency? Do you think the Lakers really try hard to keep him, or do you see him maybe going elsewhere?
I could see him going back to the Lakers as the most likely option, honestly.
Okay.
I think he fits really well there. I think LeBron likes playing with him, so that's a pretty big deal. I think the Clippers could end up going for him as well if they end up trading Pat Beverly. Keep an eye out, though, for a team like Miami or Dallas. They could both use some elite perimeter defense. And I would love to see him go to Atlanta, but he'll want to contend. I think that defense is sorely needed in Atlanta, something we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast. Yep. So I think he'll want to go to a team that's going to contend. So I think the Lakers and Clippers are probably the favorites.
Yeah, and he did play for the Clippers in the past, but it was under Doc Rivers, so maybe it's a little different with Ty Lue there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Lakers will definitely give him a look. It can be a double-edged sword here, because one hand, yes, that they can get, he was good for them, and maybe that they may lose a couple other guys. Maybe he's a little bit of a cheaper option. He turned down $5 million from the Lakers. Now he had a player option, so he's thinking he's going to make more money than that. I
don't
assume.
think so. He'll probably make the minimum league exception rate. It's like 5.7.
Yeah, that's what he turned down. So I assume he thinks he's going to make more somewhere else. I don't know. Because I think the Lakers, what they got him for was a steal.
Yeah.
For a starting guard.
Yeah.
To make that much money, or he outplayed his contract. So at the time, but at the same time, the Lakers, him not being in the bubble, and he had his own reasons, not hating or dissing, but him not being in the bubble, if you look at it from a basketball standpoint, and the Lakers still winning and looking pretty fine without him, it just shows like, oh, okay, well maybe he wasn't as valuable. I think it's more so just look at LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and I was sick and tired of people saying the Lakers didn't have a bench, because they clearly did.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden all their guys are coveted. Crazy how that works. But yeah, I think Avery Bradley could be a nice guy on the free agent market. But one guy who I'd say maybe he's the most coveted player in the free agency market, realistically, because there's a couple guys like Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram. We know where they're going to go.
Yeah, they're going to stay.
They're going to stay where they are. But Gordon Hayward opting out of $34 million. I just want to ask you flat out, was that smart for him to opt out of all that money?
Hunter, 34 million buckaroos.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of buckaroos to walk away from.
A lot of buckaroos flying around.
Regardless of your situation, listen, I think the Celtics are going to trade him anyway, because I don't think he fits in Boston anymore. Obviously, as we see him opting out, but man, 34 million. Does he really think he's going to get more than $34 million in the open market?
No,
it doesn't smell like that.
There's no way. Yeah. No, there's no way.
He must have really hated playing in Boston, man. If he's willing to turn down,
Brad Stevens was like his guy, though.
That's what I'm saying, Hunter.
No.
What happened?
I mean, he kind of just got weeded out because.
I wish I could blame
players...
Al Horford or Kyrie Irving, but I can't do that anymore.
No, he can't. I mean, he just got weeded out. Jason Tatum became a superstar.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown became an emerging star. Of course, we know Marcus Smart on the perimeter. We know Kemba Walker they signed. So it just kind of seemed like it was weird. Like, where is he going to play?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good mutual decision there. I thought there may be a sign-and trade involved. Maybe there still is. I don't know. But some teams I can see him ending up with. Apparently, the Knicks, the Pacers, and the Hornets are reportedly in the running for him. Now I can maybe see a team like the Hawks maybe making a move for him as well. I think they have the most cap space of any team entering free agency. So we're a couple situations you can see Gordon Hayward landing at.
He's got New York Knicks written all over him because they're just gonna throw a ton of money at him. Like they're gonna give him a blank check, slide it over to him, be like, here, you.
That's where he's getting that $34 million from.
Yeah, you give us a number and we'll pay it.
Yeah.
And I there's no way the Knicks don't throw the absolute bank at him. I could also see him going to a team like the Pacers. That's his hometown. He's from Indiana. Would be a great fit for that team. I actually think that's probably his best option is to go to Indiana.
I would agree.
I would love him on the Pacers. He just feels like a Pacer guy too, white guy who can shoot. Ugh, got Pacers written all over him. But I think the Knicks are going to give him a huge chunk of money. So we'll see. I
think the Knicks, I don't know. I think they're playing a little smarter this year. I saw their NBA draft.
Oh, Hunter, they'll go back. They'll rear that ugly head again. Don't you worry. James Dolan will show that bag.
Fred VanVleet will get paid. He will be the highest paid player in NBA history.
Yeah, that's coming up later.
Yep. Maybe I'll break at any moment here.
Yeah.
Nah, but another team, too, that really went after Gordon Hayward back when he was a free agent leaving Utah was the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. Maybe that will be an
exception. Do they have enough
exception.
money, though? Like, do they really want to give a big chunk of money to Gordon Hayward when Giannis is going to be a free agent next year?
Maybe a sign-and-trade. I just think it's a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Just because they did really like him originally. Mm-hmm. And I still think he's a really good player. I just think he was in an awful situation in Boston.
He was the fourth option on that team.
The injury was terrible, but I think he's fully healthy now.
Critical
and I just think that there's just so many mouths to feed there. And a lot of people play the same position. You kind of just got weeded out.
Right.
I think the Hornets would be interesting, but I don't know if I love that for him.
No.
The Hawks, maybe. Because I think they could be an up-and-coming team. Maybe.
Still no. I don't think he improves their defense, and I don't think they want to give a big chunk of money to a guy that's, at 30 years old. And they're still a young team. I
don't know. I think it'd be interesting, though. I think having another ball handler there with Trae Young helps. Because Gordon Hayward, people do forget that he's a very good ball handler, very good passer. So I think the style of play fits. And, if the Hawks maybe want to, kind of build off and really help Trae Young and maybe try to get things accelerated a little bit instead of being at the bottom of the cellar every single year, maybe that's the move they make. But a couple other noteworthy players. Goran Dragic, we talked about a little bit of the Heat before, but what did the Heat do with him? I know they want to keep him, but do you think they actually will?
It depends on how strapped for cash Miami is and how much Dragic wants. If he wants to contend, this is clearly the place to be. He seems like a good team guy, and based off of the way he wanted to play so desperately in the finals, I think he'd take less money to stay in Miami. It seems like he really loves playing there, but if not, I could see him going to a team like Dallas. Maybe if he would want to.
Him and Luka are very close.
Yeah, foreign players. Am I right?
He called Luka. Both of them. They both played together for the national team.
Yeah.
And he said before Luka got drafted, he will be one of the best players in the NBA one day.
Heck yeah, there's the bond right there. Mm-hmm. So I think he'd be willing to play shooting guard over there, give Luka the reins of that offense. I think he'd fit well over there. Has he played for Dallas?
No. He played for Houston. Got traded to the Suns, and then got traded to the Heat.
Maybe I've seen too many photoshops of Jim. But I think he would fit well in Dallas. I think those two teams are probably. But my money's on him staying in Miami.
I think so too. I mean, heart of a champion. I mean, he should not have been out there at all. He did not look like as good. But
his doctors were like, no.
Yeah, he did whatever he could to help his team out. And yeah, I think at this point in his career, he's gotten scoring. He has the stats. He's been an all-star before.
Yeah.
But he wants to be an NBA champion, and maybe Dallas is a team that can contend for that. But Miami's already shown that they've gone to the finals, and he already knows his role there. And he, I believe, led them in scoring for one of the playoff series. It may have been.
Heck yeah.
I think it was the first round series against the Pacers. I think he led them in scoring. So this guy clearly is a winner. He will do what it takes to win a championship. He's also really tough. People don't recognize that. I mean, we saw with the injury, but he doesn't step down to anybody. So I think the Heat, he's just a perfect player for them to have there.
Yeah, he really fits that culture so well.
I hope he doesn't leave for their sake.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he'll end up staying there, and I think he'll take less money to stay there.
Yeah. And last but not least, though, just a little bit of a free agent swirl going on. The Hawks apparently are ready to go after Danilo Gallinari and Rajon Rondo. Do you think those moves make sense?
Rajon Rondo does make sense. I don't think he makes sense with the Hawks just because are you going to take the ball out of Trae Young's hands?
The reason I don't think this move makes sense is because, yes, Rondo, I think is fine with being a backup point guard, but it depends where. I don't think he wants to be a backup point guard to a rebuilding team.
Yeah, definitely not. He wants to compete for
but
some
maybe they pay him a ton of money, and he's like, okay.
No, I think at this stage of his career, he wants to play for championships. In terms of Gallinari, I think he's interesting. There's not a lot of teams that he wouldn't fit on. I think he'll go to a team that will give him a lot of money, which is why Atlanta makes sense because they have the most cap room of any team in the league right now with 44 million Buckaroos, excuse me.
Buckaroos.
Could also see him going to the Mavs. I think that's a great fit, especially with all of their foreign players, so I think he'd fit in really well there. A bunch of white foreign guys. I think he fits
a lot of different languages going around.
Yeah, I think he'd fit in really well.
No one understands what anyone's saying.
Yeah. Has he played for the Mavericks?
No.
Gallinari's been everywhere, dude. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
he has been a lot of
I've lost
teams.
track. I forgot he played for the Knicks.
Nuggets,
Yeah.
Clippers,
Thunder.
I think those are the teams.
Yeah. A lot of teams there.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Gallinari's interesting because I remember him saying that he kind of wants to play for contender. Hey, if the Hawks offer him like $25 million, I mean,
he's not going to turn down.
He's not turning that down.
Yeah.
Maybe Rondo gets 15 and Gal gets 25.
Oh my God, could you imagine paying Rajon Rondo $15 million?
Oh my God.
That's
I don't know. I think that's what it'd take
much.
for the Hawks to get him if they want him that bad. I think they're gonna have to really,
I don't think I want him
unload
that
the money truck there.
Yeah.
And, unload the Brinks.
Wait,
but,
Hunter, I got 2 players left for you.
You got 2 more? All right, bring them up.
All right, Fred VanVleet. I know we've talked
We've
about
talked
the
about
Knicks, the Knicks at nauseum. I know the Knicks are going to throw everything they were worth
crystal
at him.
ball.
They're going to throw everything they had, like everything they got. But I could also see him staying with Toronto. He's obviously a great fit there. They just won't be able to offer him the same amount of money the Knicks would. I'm interested to see what you think is going to happen.
It's interesting. Fred VanVleet went on the JJ Redick podcast and flat out said, "I want to get paid." He said that.
See, no, all right. So he's going to the Knicks. All right, next guy. Davis Bertans.
Ooh.
Will the Wizards fully commit to rebuilding? Because I don't think so, which makes them seem like he's going to re-sign with the Wizards. I've saw some rumors swirling there. I think, though, Phoenix would be a phenomenal option.
Yes.
I think Phoenix would be I'm glad that you agree with me so much there.
Yeah. I agree with you.
And then
there.
if the Sixers had money, they'd be cool too, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm interested to see what the Wizards do with this situation because if they really want to fully commit to rebuilding, they don't re-sign them. But if they want to pretend that they're going to be a good 7 or 8 seed, then they can throw all the money they want at them.
You know another team be interesting?
Ooh,
the Blazers.
Ooh.
Yeah?
Ooh.
I think that'd be an interesting team.
Okay.
On the wing.
Okay, I can see that. He's a great 3-point shooter. Fits that team really well.
Can play either forward spot.
They need a forward. Ooh, that brings up an... All right, I lied. One more guy. Carmelo Anthony. You think he finally teams up with LeBron?
I just don't think he makes a lot of... Because here's the thing.
He doesn't make a sense for any team, Hunter.
I think he made sense for the Blazers.
At that time.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because he's not going to start in the Lakers.
No.
You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he wants to come off the bench. That's why I think he may go to the Knicks.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Wow.
You remember we brought up that if they lose Jeremy Grant, the Nuggets would actually make some sense?
Oh, man.
It kind of would.
Dude.
I'm just saying.
Revenge tour for
Melo.
All right, that's all I got.
He goes back to Denver. They love him again. Then he leaves again.
Yeah, and then he leaves again.
But this time they're just like, okay, that's fine. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
But
right, that's all I got. That's all I got.
All right, that's all it for the list.
Yeah.
All right, well, in that case, that's going to wrap it up here on Ball Don't Lie. This good chance this is our last in-studio podcast for the semester. Maybe we'll do a couple Zoom.
See our pretty faces again.
Yeah, see our pretty faces again. But it was really fun getting behind the mic again, Matt. This is where we started. We were locked out for a while.
Yeah.
They were hating, or just no one was here to let us in. That was really the answer.
Belisario didn't want us to record this podcast.
Yeah, Donald himself was just like, nah. But anyways, though, whole lot of fun. There's going to be so much action going on. It's crazy how fast the NBA offseason is moving. But we're all here for it on Ball Don't Lie, so thanks for tuning in. And hopefully we can keep bumping out more content.
Yeah, see you guys soon.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.